Hello and welcome to another show of Sam Talks Technology. But today's not a technology show. I'm joined today by a wonderful cricketer. His name's Monty Panesar, better known as Monty. Monty, hello. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me on the show, Sam.
Very welcome. Now, let's start off with, how did you get the nickname Monty?
I think Monty came about when you're playing cricket matches and there's like under 12s cricket game that I was playing for Bedfordshire, and everyone has easy names, English names, Andy, James, Kevin, and people say, "What's your name?" And I'll say Madhusudan. I said, "Oh, do you have a nickname?" Because in cricket, there's always banter. Everyone has a bit of banter. And then I remember my auntie used to call me Monty, and I go, "Yeah, Monty. Monty's my nickname." And then they go, "All right, we'll just call you Monty. That's much easier." And then that's how it started.
My name is not Sam, it's Sanjeev. And clearly everyone struggled saying Sanjeev when I was growing up. It's not the hardest name in the world, but Sam has stuck since then. Now, you said you grew up, I think, around Luton, in Bedfordshire as well. Were you born in the UK? Is the UK home, or were you born in India?
Now, I was born in the UK. I remember watching Grange Hill, Biker Grove, coming from school, Thundercats when I was younger, Alvin and the Chipmunks, all of these sort of cartoons. Gives me vivid memories of when I was a youngster.
And was cricket your first sport? Was it your only sport? What was cricket to you?
And look, I played a little bit of rugby, played a bit of football. I was quite good at athletics, a bit of a like 400, good little 400-meter runner. But
An
then
all-round sportsman, really.
I seem to, pick up all sort of sports. Basketball was one as well, started to go into that. But then I think cricket took off because I had a club that I could play at Luton Town and Indians. So I used to go there, play on the weekends, play during the weekdays. So then a lot more time was invested in sport, in cricket. And then I started to take that a lot more seriously. And then I went for some trials, under 12 Bedfordshire trials, and I got in the team. And then we started to sort of take cricket, quite seriously.
And were you always a bowler, always a spin bowler, or were you one of these fast bowlers who adapted? What was your
I
natural
was a
start?
fast bowler. I always wanted to be like Wazim Akram. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to deny it and or apologize it. One of my regrets in life is I never became Wazim Akram. Even now, when I watch him on TV and he tells me the grip of an in-swinger, outswinger, I practice it. I go in the nets and I'll practice it, and I still got the swing and everything. And that's that. I would have loved to be a left-arm seamer.
Okay, maybe, no, I was going to say maybe there's time, but there isn't time for you to do that. Now, what was school? Where was school?
I went to St Matthew's Primary School, and then I went to Stopsley High School. And it was quite a sporty sort of school, but I think they quickly realised that I was, good at cricket. I was winning matches for my team, and I remember playing against Trawney High School, which was like really, strong for its cricket, and we beat them. And I played a huge role in beating them, and suddenly the news spread that there's a Sikh kid who's just knocking teams over and he's winning games single-handedly. And so suddenly I got up the ranks. So suddenly from Luton, I was playing in Bedford and Dunstable, the more, let's say, the white areas where cricket is a lot more stronger. And I was lucky. We had a club called Luton Town and Indians, which was a Gujarati club. And a lot of Gujaratis, Patels, everyone. So I know everything about the Gujarati culture. And I grew up from them to play cricket. And if I never had that, I don't think I would have made it as a cricketer. And now I have a lot of family, a lot of parents, mothers asking me, where do I take my son to play cricket? Because the areas they live in, either the cricket club doesn't, like sometimes a brown face may not fit so easily in a white club. You feel a bit singled out.
I think that's odd in the sense that cricket is India's national sport. I went to school at Loughborough, where we'll talk about your university in a minute because you went to the university there. And I remember it was an all-white school, 1,000 white kids, and along comes me. My cricket teachers got so excited. Indian, at last, you're going to be great. And I hated cricket, I'm sorry to say. And I played rugby instead. But I would have thought, taking your point, an Indian turns up, goes and says, I'm going to play cricket, whether it's a white or an all-Indian environment, I thought they'd welcome them with open arms still, no?
It's a myth, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
There's a lot of young people, they tend to go to a club where there's more like brown people there, because then they've got other hook points of conversation. And if you go to a club that is a white club and you're the only brown person, you're a bit like an odd one out, really, because you don't have as many hook points. There's only so much you can talk. And then suddenly the white person needs to chill with the white guy, the black with the black, brown with the brown, because we have our cultural sort of just to relax and chill out. So I always find that a lot of young families, they find it difficult to integrate their children in a white club because it is culturally slightly different. And I was lucky that I had a club called Luton Indians, which was just all Indians. And they were from Gujarat, Maharashtra, Gujarat, where it's the epicenter of cricket in India. And Gujarat is next door to Maharashtra. Maharashtra is where Sachin Tendulkar, Sunil Gavaskar, Dilip Vansarkar, Ravi Shastri, the greats of Indian cricket were there. The real passion. People are die-hard. If you want to know what are die-hard, you got to go to Manchester to see what football. Man City, Man United. If you want to become a great footballer, you want to be probably a youngster in Manchester playing football. You've got a good chance of becoming a footballer. And that's what it was for me when I was at Luton Indians. They were just passionate fans. People listened to the radio if they didn't have a TV.
Oh, really?
Test match special to understand what is the technique of it. And it was just real passion and love for the game. I was lucky I was in that environment.
Okay.
Very lucky.
You had a film about your life, which I've seen, and it's very much like Bend It Like Beckham. Now, how did that film, before I ask how did that film come about, how accurate was that film about your life?
Well, firstly, there wasn't a film about me. Secondly, I didn't get invited to the premiere. Thirdly, I never met Akshay Kumar. And fourthly, when I will meet Akshay Kumar, and I got a bone to pick with him to say, it's a spinner. It wasn't a seamer, mate. I'm a spin bowler from Indian background, and he got the whole storyline wrong.
But it was meant to be about you, Tan. It was meant to be about
loosely based. They used the phrase loosely based. I never met any other cast. They didn't even invite me to the premiere. They said, if they're going to make a loosely based on me, at least invite me to the premiere, sit next to Akshay Kumar with Rishi Kapoor on the other side, mingling with the superstars and watch the film. I felt like an outcast. Oh, we've seen this story about Monty being a cricketer, but we're going to nick his story, make it into a film called Patiala House, but we're not going to, let's put it in other terms, invite him. So
yes.
I know he's a martial artist, but I've got a great kung fu kick as well, and I would love to take him on a martial arts match, me and Akshay Kumar.
We'll arrange it. I'll film it. No.
Arrange it, film it. It's been 10 years since I've been trying to get hold of him.
It sounds like they just used your name or used your story to get publicity. To get publicity.
That's what they did. It was a film. It was a big hit film, Patiala House. But I never got anything, no publicity from it. They should have put me at the front of that film. Said, look, this is based on Monty Panesar. But they didn't. They just nicked the story and they put all the other cast in there and never put me in there. And everyone sort of says, oh, Monty, there was a film loosely based on you. It was, but I was never involved with any of the movie.
Wow. Okay. That doesn't come across. And now the one thing in the movie, and we'll move away from it, was the father in the movie was not supportive of the son. What was your father like?
Look, my father, I think he found it easy to get me into cricket because my dad's best mate was Hiddu Nayak and he was at Luton Indians. So they both played cricket together at Luton Tack College, which was another cricket club. So my dad knew that he's in safe hands if he keeps training with Hiddu Nayak. He's one of my dad's best mates. He's safe. You know, picks him up, takes him for training. He used to pick me up after school. I used to go for training and then he'll bring me back. Now, I find a lot of children now, they think, oh, I don't know if my child is safe with this coach. Firstly, I don't know if I can find him the right cricket club. And that's the issues which I just, let's say, walked into. Every situation being right. Being at Luton Town and Indians, which are so passionate about cricket, loved cricket. Like people would take time off work and play cricket. But they had an ambition that we want one of our youngsters to play for England. And luckily, that was me. And then I had a safe environment. My father could just give me the space and say, go on, just play cricket. You're in safe hands. But there's a lot of that. That's why now there's a lot of children, especially British Asian families, they find it difficult to find that right environment, the right cricket club, the right coaches. There's coaches, there's no relation to the family. And they're like, the parents have to always be there, watch the child. And The reason I'm saying this is the reason I'm saying this is because it's the psychology of growth, right? We have this thing of giving the child its space during the teenage years to really work out things, to work and grow quite exponentially. And my growth came quite a lot after 16. And my father's never got, he said, look, he's your cricket teacher, let him do that. So that the parental pressure, I see a lot of parents putting so much pressure on their children. Exams, education, fine. That's something that every parents want their children to do well. But when it comes to sport, you got to just say, this is a coach, let him deal with it. And I just grew. Suddenly everything clicked into shape, coordination. That's the age where you change from a boy to a man slightly, and everything just falls into place. And suddenly you're a lot more stronger. You're hitting the ball harder. You're spinning the ball more. And you just feel more of, I can like compete with men as well. And then just things just took off after that.
So what was your next club after Luton Indians? How did you get into county cricket, and who was it with?
So I was under 12s, and then I went under 14s, 15, 6. And at the age of 16, I went to under 19s, Bedfordshire, played in the Cambridge Festival, did really well there. And then from there, I went to played minor counties cricket. But even when we were going on them away trips, I had good, how do I say it? Just good, that sort of teaching from my coaches and my parents. They always said, that's age, 16 to 18, 18 to 19 is that age where you go on 1 week, 2 weeks away on a cricket trip, where you end up thinking, oh, maybe I'll, after the game, have a bit of a drink, go out a little bit. And I never did that, because I just thought, I want to become a cricketer. I want to make it to the top. I can't get involved in these kind of things. I know some of my other mates would have a bit of a drink afterwards, but I never did that. There was a lot of, we all know, everyone drinks if you're at school or not. Everyone tries to sneak in with off license, go and get a little drink or whatever. But I just never did that. I never did that because I was so I want to play for England, and that was it. And it encourages you more when more opportunities get thrown at you. So then David Mercer, he gave me the opportunity to play in a minor counties match at the age of 16. And I was playing with men's cricket then. I made my debut at the age of 16, with minor counties. And the paper was in the article at the Luton News, CFAX, cricket score on CFAX. It was like a big thing. It's like, wow, your name's on CFAX. That is big, man. That means you've made it. And that's how things started to grow.
So it was Northampton your first big county?
It was between Northampton and Essex. I went to Essex, and John Charles was the left arm and second team coach. Northants was Nick Cook. And then I thought, look at hindsight, I thought, should I go on to Northants or Essex? They had Graham Gooch as a captain for England, Nasser Hussain, Keith Fletcher. They had a lot more England players coming through. They had a stronger hold, and maybe I would have made my debut quicker. But then I went to Northants, and then that was just closer to home.
And then when did you make your England debut?
I went back to Northants. They're losing every game, and they said, we're going to produce spinning decks second half of the season. And Kepler Vessels was the coach then. And I remember Usman Afzal, who was playing for Northants. And I used to run around and train a lot. And he used to say, can you see that guy over there? He's running around and dropping every catch. And he goes, I reckon we should play him. Give this guy a go. Give this guy a chance. And they're laughing. Are you sure? He's not a great fielder, but he tries so hard on his bowling. Goes, yeah, trust me, give him a go. He's a good bowler. I faced him. So that little things like that throughout my career, always had people backing me, backing my ability. At Loughborough Uni, had Graham Dilly, who just backed me all the time. I'll turn up late for training, and he'll just say, God, you put a blind eye to it. But then if I did it too often, so that's my Indian Desi side coming in. Even though I'm been brought up through the English ranks, there's certain parts of me, which my punctuality wasn't that great, but my talent in abundance. And they'll put a blind eye to it, and I'll just go there and win the game. And then at Loughborough, we won everything. We didn't lose anything. We won every game. And Graham Dilly was brilliant. He really helped me a lot. And, rest in peace, is not with us anymore. Neither is my life coach, Deepak Basu. It's, these are great influences. And I think to be a success in career, you always need a backing from somewhere. every organization you go into, every sporting club you go to, there's got to be one person who's always backing and they keep pushing you. And at Northants, they pushed me. And that season, I took 48 wickets in 8 matches. And I went to Adelaide and Darren Lehman Academy in Adelaide for a few months, came back, got the call. Next thing I know, I was on the trip to India.
And what was that like when you got the notification? Were you expecting it, or was it a surprise?
I actually remember when I went to the National Academy, Peter Moores was the academy coach then, and he obviously was very successful with Sussex. And I said to Peter Moores, because I never knew much of Peter Moores. I knew this was a hard taskmaster. You look at Peter Moores and I feel like I'm the finished article. I feel like there's a lot more to be done. He would have this presence of like, right, I'm going to now make you into a great player. And he did that. He did that with so many people. But then when he saw me and he bowled and he looked at my bowling and he saw me visually, he goes, you look just mentally tough. He goes, you look mentally ready. He goes, you don't need to bowl. You mentally look ready. There's something about you mentally. You just look ready than the other guys. And he goes, I think you're going to go. And that's what they probably asked him. Then they obviously asked their opinions. Who do you think they should go for? Peter Moores probably backed me and said, look, I think Monty's looks mentally ready. He's bowling. And they picked me and Ian Blackwell as the 2 spinners to go. That, and talk about that mental toughness, that came from my eastern side. When you live in this country, there's a problem. Between the ages 35 to 45, right, there's a lot of people who come up to me now, they have an identity crisis, because the crisis is that once they reach the ceiling of the corporate world and they know, right, there's a ceiling, I can't go any further than that. They think, firstly, they thought they were very British because they're like, go to the education system, go to the interviews, they're getting opportunities, they're working through the system, they think they're part of society. Then they realize there comes a glass ceiling between 35 to 40. And you think, I'm working with this investment bank company, but I'm not going to go any further than this. And then they feel like, what's my identity? At the boardroom level, it's all about the white person. I can't get to that level. That's my glass ceiling.
I think that's true in this country, less so in America. If you look in America, the head of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, the head of IBM, the head of many corporate companies are Indian. And I think, actually, I think there is a glass ceiling in this country. So it'll be interesting. Will we ever have a British Prime Minister that's Indian?
Never. Ever. That will never happen.
I said that when I was growing up at school, Monty, and I'm probably 20 years older than you, that we'd never have one. And yet we have Rishi, who's now the, Chancellor. We have...
Yeah, but he's just ticking the box. He's just ticking the box.
It's a tick in the box, but you know what? That's a tick in the box at the top table still. It's the point being that I never thought we would see a Home Secretary, a Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Business Trade Industry Secretary, all being Indian. Never, ever believed that when I was growing up. I grew up in the 80s as a teenager, the height of the National Front, the height of the BNP. And there was nothing that I believed would lead to what we have today. So the needle moves slowly, but it does move.
No, it does move, but this is because of the education system and the IT centre that is in India. You look at the deputy of London Mayor, he's from an Indian background, he's very much born in India, but his education level is very supreme because there are some good management schools, universities in India that when you go to the US, most of these people have got some sort of affiliation or education from the Indian education model. Then when they are CEOs of, let's say, Google or these big companies, there's a level of IT. The IT capital is India now of the world. And that's one of the reasons they're supremely intellect and they're very intellectual individuals. Now, all of these people who are in the so-called Rishi Sunak, Priti Patel, these are Hindus who learn the management skill and are brought up in a Hindu way. Is there a Sikh person there? So
Maybe not yet, but in the Canadian government, there are 3 Sikhs, as an example.
Yeah, because all the Sikhs from Punjab are the new Punjab is Canada. Punjab is getting empty because everyone's going in Punjab. The thing is, once you're 15, you're like, I need to put in my visa application, see if I can get a visa to Canada, and everyone's going there And therefore, in Canada, it is like that. But what my point is, because of the relationships between England and India are so strong, and Narendra Modi is the world leader right now because Donald Trump is following him. And I'll give you an example where this happened. When China and India had their little, let's say, fight, right?
Yep.
Everyone looked at Narendra Modi. He gives a good speech, he makes big decisions. Now we got two heavyweights. It's Tyson versus Lennox Lewis. What is Narendra Modi going to do with China? He didn't hold back. He said, I'm going to ban all the Chinese apps. He banned them. He banned TikTok.
Yep.
Everyone's like, wow, the first global leader to ban TikTok. He's taking on China now. Trump follows him. He's got encouragement. He's like, oh, if Narendra Modi can do it, I'm going to now do it. He wants to ban TikTok, right?
He does.
But the real person who's taking one, opening batting, one is Narendra, now two is Donald Trump. Narendra Modi saying, there's a T20 match, I'll face the new ball and I'll whack it out of the ground for 6. Now, that's what I'm seeing. You look even in England, Rishi Sunak, Priti Patel, we've got the deputy, all of these people have got some sort of affiliation with the Indian government at top level. It's the influence and of the Indian government that is having on the British government, because India is, in the next 10 years, no doubt will become a superpower, the super nation. It is a capital of IT hub. It's going to be, economy is going to grow. And England want to be part of that gravy train now.
So there's two parts to that. The first one, I fully agree. India was very decisive about banning TikTok, which was great. It was good to see them not rolling over and just going whatever. The part about India is influencing a lot of the world. At the moment, that is because China is now the pariah. So what used to happen was, so for example, Fox just moved their iPhone operations, or started to move their iPhone operations out of China into India because America is very anti-China. And you'll begin to see a lot of investments. So Facebook, Google are investing heavily into India right now. So I agree with you. I think in 10, maybe 15 years, India will be, because it's such a big population, it's a single currency across a massive population that is digitizing very fast, and it's getting massive investment. So I think you're right on that. So whether England will get a foothold in there, I don't think so. I think there is a lot of controversy about whether India should allow England back in. They've called it Empire 2.0 in Whitehall. And if India's stupid to allow England back in for a second time, I think fool us, because fundamentally what they did to us the first time was basically they didn't build the railways for our benefit. They built it for their benefit to get the goods out faster by ship to the coast to get them out. The famous story, again, one of the things with Black Lives Matter that really interests me was some of the stories about English history were beginning to appear. The Bangladeshi famine, I talked to a lot of my English friends.
So you talked about, this is a very interesting point. England has a class system. England always has a class system. They thrive on the class system. They have an upper class, a middle class, and a working class. And what was evident when I launched a campaign on the Monty channel, I said the government should do a U-turn on all A-level results and take the prediction from a teacher's results, because they have more intimate relationship. They know an accurate result that it will be there. Now, what this algorithm did, it took the last few years of the results of the schools, which meant that the independent schools were always going to get higher results because the accumulation of the results on average is going to be higher than a state school. Where, what about that golden child in that state school who's got 2 A's and a B and has got maybe a place at a red brick university, and the parents work endlessly, first generation parents living in a terraced house, and they just do 9 to 5, working hard, and all they invest in, the parents invest in that child to go to a red brick university so they can mingle in with the white collar society. And one day they'll see their child becoming that white collar person, becoming that director, that executive. That's the dream for the working class family. And that, what I campaigned for, I said, there needs to be a U-turn, because you are creating a class system within the education sector of the grassroots level children, and do not do that there. Create a class system wherever else you want to, right? With sport or whatever, but not with the future of this is the children who are doing A levels, who are going to universities, and especially the working class families. The more they get children from the working class family, A-level students into red brick universities, into Oxford or Cambridge, it's going to make this country stronger. And I think Gavin, whatever they want to call him, got it completely wrong. Boris Johnson, I think, has still done many U-turns. And I think inside, he's a good guy, man. He's a really good person. He's just sometimes gets badly advised, but then he has the courage to say, right, if the advice is wrong, and then I see the picture myself, I'm going to make U-turns. He's got the courage to make the U-turns, and he'll keep making the U-turns for what's right for the people. And that's what I do on the Monty channel. I campaign for a champion for the people. I did a theatre one. I said, the Boris Johnson must have funding. 2 weeks when I looked at the theatre industry is going to die out, we need some funding. And then 2 weeks later, we did a funding for it. So sometimes I'm a sports person and I've got my own channel, but I know some of my video messages must go to at the government level. They must look at it, because some of the decisions they make is based on some of the stuff I'm saying.
Brilliant. So keep it going. So what's the next one then? What are we going
The next one is about trying to extend the furlough scheme, because there's going to be mass unemployment in October if they stop it. Have a separate scheme in place. And they also need to find a way of getting more people working in London. They can't just have them out. They need to have them coming into the office, work on something, have an incentive scheme. You get paid more. You get, if you work from home, but if you go into the office, you get a bonus.
I can't agree with you, Monty. So at the moment, only 30% of the workforce in London's going back in, right? 70% are staying home. While you've got children, you can't do that balance. If you've got children at home, which is why they're desperate to open the schools. But I think the thing about it is, from the digital aspect, when I look at technology, we've been trying to reduce the carbon footprint, the congestion, the traffic. If you then say to people, look, you can now work from home, there's less cars on the road, there's less congestion, you don't need to build more roads, more railways. You can be at home to pick your children up. I've worked from home for 10 years, dropping my kids, picking them up. It's a better environment to work from home. So I can't agree with you. I think if you've got a nice environment, I'm lucky to have one, then working from home is great. But if you're young, and maybe that it'll be the young who go into offices, but I don't know if offices are the future. I think they are going to be less.
Well, Boris Johnson has given planning permission for some of the buildings in central London to convert into flats. So then that's going to shoot up. That's going to, get a lot of people. How do I say it? A lot of people. The property, there'll be a lot of property available now, and then prices will fluctuate.
It'll be interesting over the next 10 years. Is it a flight of London, or is it a return to London? We don't know yet. Now, sorry, I just want to go back. We've jumped massively. So let's say let me go back to you've made your England debut in India. Now, the most controversial comment of my lifetime, I think, is the Norman Tebbit test regarding cricket. Which, are you Indian? Although you're British passport holder, do you support India or England? How did you feel about the Norman Tebbit test, and how did you personally feel? Most of us stand back and go, I can support whatever. There you are, you're an Indian, stood in the middle of India, playing for England. How did you feel?
The thing is, right, for me, and as cricket fans, like when we play cricket together, the diversity, the mixing in with people, we find it a lot easier. But I've noticed one thing, since I've come out of cricket the last couple of years, the world isn't like that. What it is in the cricketing world, we mix in with a black person, a brown person, a white person. We're like taking photos. We're like, I'm like busting my gut. I'm facing bouncers for my, let's say, British white mate from the other end who's on 90 not out to get him on 100. And I've got this like West Indian guy who's a black guy, new ball bowling 90 miles per hour at my throat, and I'm trying to defend it so he can get to 100. Can you see the whole sort of togetherness of it? We don't see it as white, black, brown. We see cricket, the love of the game. But society outside cricket doesn't work like that. And I've lived all my life in cricket. And maybe, look, there's statements that came out within the ECB that they said we haven't got no black CEO, no black coach, no black board member, which is fine. You can integrate maybe one or two people and then gradually, but as an overall whole, as a general, I have a much better understanding of the black community because I tour West Indies for 3 months. I sit there and I'm chilling with them, with all different, like the Aussie community, everything like that, but only in cricketing context. But then when I come out of it and I see, for example, I heard stories, one of my mates went into off license and I said to him, can you put something in your bag? He goes, no, I can't do that because the security guard would get it out. Now, if I was with my cricket mate, just walking on the street, I said, listen, mate, here's my bag or my iPad. Can you just put it in your bag as a teammate? And we've gone into the shop and no one would say nothing of it. The security guard or nothing with it because they're teammates. If it's a white guy, we're teammates. We're part of the same team. But outside society, that's not how the world is. So for us as sports people, it's difficult to think, wow, the reality that I lived all my life was this, because we all love cricket. Cricket's the one love that brings us together, that when you're coming back to the Norman Tebbit test, you don't think of it like that. Your mind just thinks, I'm playing for cricket for England. All the upbringing was all the England people that helped me, English clubs, English coaches, England system, ECB system, Loughborough, went to the ECB coach educational program where they had 6 centres. That's why I went to Loughborough. So they have a cricket centre as well as education, get the best of both worlds. So I've come through the ECB system. So I'm not thinking, oh, am I supporting India or am I supporting Pakistan while I live, in this country? I'm thinking from my perspective, my goal is to play cricket for England and that's my goal. Going back to that point of Norman Tebbit, he's a politician. He said something like this. The reason he said it, because he knew that in 10, 15 years' time, India will become a strong nation because of the value system it has, because of how it treats with education and everything like that. That was a typical comment from a politician to actually justify the class system. Because these politicians, these white politicians especially, they need the class system. If they don't have a class system, they don't feel valued. If there's no hierarchy, they're not going to feel important. They need this to actually feel important. And that's all it is. Look at the Houses of Parliament. So many people are Lords. Every day they go to Lords, they sign off. They get £350. Some people just go in, they sign off and they go back in their car.
Yep, they do.
Why? Why is that the case? That's a taxpayer's money and you shouldn't do that.
The reform of the Lords has been long overdue and everyone has been trying to do that. But while we have as you rightly say, we have a Queen at the top and a class-based system and award system, which is on Lords, Ladies, Sirs, Knights, Dames, whatever you want to call it, then that won't change. And it's going to be very hard to remove that because that's at the core of the culture of the UK economy or the country. I don't think... It's
not the core. You know what it does? It creates a class system. Now, Lord Sam Sethi, how are you, mate?
That's a ring. I wouldn't take it.
Well, you're a class above everyone else because I'm calling you Lord. But look, Lords are powerful. They can influence the public. They can help with policies. You go and show them a policy, they'll go and take it across. So I'm all up for that. Like Ian Botham became Lord. If I want to go and show him something, in my area, this is what it is. He would look at it and he's got the power to take it into the Houses of Commons, House of Parliament, and something can happen. That's where I see the value of the Lord. I would love to see these people who have these Lord titles, what are they doing to help the public? I want them to be measured by what they do by help the public. So then they are justified for that signature of 350 that they get a day.
A lot of the Lords are retirement schemes for people who've done other things, like all people who've made donations to the parties, whether it's Labour or Tory.
But then they need to be accountable. They say, these are your KPIs or whatever, and I want you as a Lord, help this area, do this for these people, whatever, social issues, whatever. Like you guys are like in a powerful position to change the people. You don't want to just sit there and think, I've got my Lord and I've got a pension scheme of every day 350 coming in. Like, that's great. But if I was Lord, I would be thinking, I want to be accountable for my lordship. By end of the year, I want to think, this is what I did for the people. What I helped with the people, and I did area, how many people I area, that area, be accountable for my lordship. Then I would feel very satisfied. And then I would say, nice to get that 350 because I'm using that money to help people. Then I would feel very satisfied.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some who are in the Lords who will be, just as there are some MPs who actually care. And I think there's other MPs who are career MPs who don't care. That's the sad part about it. And I think reform of the Lords is overdue, but it won't happen probably in my lifetime, but it is overdue.
That's why I want to become a Lord. I want Boris Johnson to give me the lordship. And you know what? I'll say to Boris Johnson, give me the lordship. I don't want to sign 350 a day. I don't want to sign it. I don't want the money. I want to help people. Give me the power so I can, some person who's got some policy, some changes, give it to me so I can take it to the House of Parliament and show it to you guys, how the changes I can make. And actually, I don't want to sign the 350. Give me the title so I can help people.
Okay. So Lord Panesar of Luton.
Lord Panesar of Hampstead.
Oh, okay. So you're going to keep that one. Okay. Now, your cricketing career, let's just finish off on some of those. Who was the best player you played against?
Graham Smith.
Okay. Why?
Averaged 80 against left arm spin, mentally tough. What a great captain he was, leader of men. And he was leading a team when in South Africa after the apartheid. Look at the policies he had to deal with. He didn't have to pick, he wasn't picking his best South African team, but he still held his leadership for over 100 test matches. And he became a great leader of people and of policies and societies. To captaining South Africa is the hardest team to captain because you're not picking your best 11 or to go through the policies and the quota system, and then who are my best players in this quota system, and still be successful, and still to do 100 test matches where you're not picking your best 11 most of the time, and you still got the best out of that team. That's why I think he's a great leader and a great captain.
Okay. And who was the best teammate you played with?
Andrew Flintoff. He used to take the piss out of me. He used to have a laugh. Graham Swan was another. Graham Swan. France used to always make me laugh. When I was a youngster, I never used to shower because Asian boys, they find it difficult to be naked in the shower because they find it really weird, like with other men to be naked. But it's an Asian thing. We're like, no, I'll go home and shower. And he goes to me, Monty, about 30 overs in the day. You are showering today. It got me, and they put me in an ice bath, and got me really cold and whatever. These were the things. And Michael Vaughan, great man manager, got the best out of me. He knew I loved bowling. I didn't like all the other stuff that came with it, but he said, look, Monty just gets up in the morning, wears his England gear so he can get to the net and put a ball in his hand, and so he can bowl. You know what? I'm just going to make him do that. He wanted to know, what gets you out of bed? Monty, what gets you out of bed every day when you play for England? I said, when you put a ball in my hand and I take wickets and I want to spin it. And he goes, all right, just do that. Don't worry about all the other stuff. I'll deal with it. And he got the best out of me. Best man manager, just got best out of so many cricketers. Like after Mike, really, I would say Michael Vaughan was the best captain.
Okay. Now, a couple more questions because, you don't have Monty Panesar every day. Best game you ever played in?
Oh, that's a great question. No one has asked me that. Sam, got to give it to you, mate. That's why they give you that award in 2019. Of all you always pick one great question and you think that's why you're number one at the moment, mate. I think for me, my most memorable one was Cardiff. I drew the test match and it was against the odds, and I didn't realise the impact of it or how the public received it, because when we have 1,000 test matches, it was the number 5 best ever test match, and I was part of that history with Jimmy Anderson, who'll probably end up becoming our greatest test cricketer ever, close to taking 600 test wickets. So I was with him, part of that history, and it makes me feel very, how do I say it? I feel really proud inside that I partnered with one of the greatest cricketers to play for England, and to be a part of that special, history with him. And I played under 19s cricket with him as well. A good bowler. I went to the England Academy with him. So that whole journey with Jimmy Anderson makes me, very special. And I'll be so happy when you get 600 Test wickets.
Now, you played your last game out in Australia, I understand, in the Ashes. How was that? What was that feeling like for you? Knowing you were about to end your last game, or did you not know it was your last game?
I think at the back end of my career, I was playing games where it was like last minute they'll tell me during the day, oh, Monty, you're playing today. Suddenly you just got to get ready for it. You haven't done any preparation. And then the other side, and the other thing was that when I played in Australia, we were losing. We didn't cover the point of Mitchell Johnson. Graham Gooch had no answer. He was our bowling coach. He did not have an answer how to deal with Mitchell Johnson because we never covered that aspect. And then when we did cover it, it didn't realize that actually he's blowing us away. This guy's bowling rockets. He's not bowling slow stuff. He did not have an answer to that. And that's why consequently he lost his job. And he was one of the greatest, Test cricketers ever. Mm-hmm. But he did not have an answer. How do we deal? Neither did Andy Flower. We got this team to number one and suddenly there's one player blowing the side out. We need to find an answer there and then, immediately. None of the coaches had an answer for that. He was like the spin coach and they couldn't figure out. And that was the most disappointing part of that tour, was Mitchell Johnson was blowing us out. You are our coaches now. It's not the players. The coaches need to find answers. How do we deal with this? How do we deal with Mitchell Johnson? How do we deal with, this attack? None of them had the answer to it. And in the end, they all lost their jobs. I went with it as well. So did Kevin Peterson. You've got to have a scapegoat as well, right? And I was a scapegoat. And I played my last test. They picked Scott Borthwick. He doesn't even bowl leg spin anymore for Surrey. He's a batsman. And they picked him, who played grade cricket, second grade cricket, over me. It was like the biggest insult that anyone could ever, imagine. That was like, Alistair Cook just saying to me, look, Monty, that's it. We put a line through your career now. Which I thought was completely unfair, because the real fact was that the coaches or none of the playing members could find an answer to Mitchell Johnson, who was bowling 90-mile-per-hour rockets. And because of that, I got put a line through my career. And KP never played after that, which I thought was so unfair. And it was weak leadership. Alistair Cook was weak as a leader. He should have stood up. He should have said, you know what? I'm going to stand up. And I want Kevin Peterson to play in this team because he's our best player. And Kevin Peterson probably would have ended up taking 12,000 test runs, 13,000. It was good. But because he was instructed from the upper people, from the ECB board, to say, no, we don't want Kevin Peterson to play anymore, his career was cut. My career was cut. And you kind of think, was it really worth it to become the leading test run scorer, but you cut other people's career for it?
But yes, I can understand the anger it comes across, but you also had amazing moments. So you don't regret your cricket for England, do you? It's not.
No, I don't regret my cricket, because there were times which were tough and I took them on. I left 3 or 4 years of my cricket career was cut, man. I'll be honest with you. I should have been playing afterwards, and then they should have backed me. They should have, look, Monty, this is your chance, this is your chance. They just thought that this is not what we want. We want to go in a different direction. Suddenly you just think, right, this is what we want to do. We're going in a different direction and we're just going to be ruthless. We're going to be absolutely ruthless in our decision making. This is the angle we're going to go, and we are going to cut these guys' careers. And that's what they did. KP got told to go. He didn't even look, in the meeting when I spoke to KP, he goes, Alistair Cook could not look him in the eye.
Really?
They tell him, what? I'm sorry, man. Imagine, let's do it to him. Do it to Alistair Cook. We're going to cut your career now. You don't play either. I want you to go with it. So Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad playing right now. Let's cut their careers. How would they feel? Yeah. The other day, Stuart Broad got so angry that he didn't even play in one test match and he got dropped. He was so angry. Just imagine how angry I am or Kevin Peterson are when our whole career was cut by 3 or 4 years. He was only one test match. Look how angry he got.
Yeah.
And this is what you call unfair justice. And that's what happened with me. It was very unfair, but I can't do anything about it. It's like you can't cry over spilled milk now. That time is gone. I've got to move forward in life.
You can't. It's gone. It has gone, unfortunately. Now, cricketers have a very different lifestyle to every other sportsman.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, cricketers have a very different lifestyle to other sportsmen. Can you hear me now?
It's really low.
Okay, that's odd. Any different now?
Just about hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Don't know what's gone on. Nothing changed. Okay, I'll edit this so it's not a problem. So, cricketers have a very different lifestyle to every other sports person. You're touring so much, you're away from home so much, you have hours and hours just sat in the changing room waiting for games when you're not batting, and hours of just between test matches or one-day matches. How do you cope with that downtime? How do you make yourself mentally strong through those periods?
Look, that sort of time when I had my life coach with me, I found it very easy because I had someone to talk to. I'd always ring him up and say, look, this is what I'm up to. What do I do next? And stuff like that. So I had a strong relationship where the thing is, right, I take a lot of confidence, obviously, because my own life coach, he could have become a cricketer as well when he played for Hampshire. Board at Greenwich wrote him a letter when they had a trial. They go, look, please, we're going to offer you a contract. Come and play for Hampshire. But he said, no, I caught my parents at that time. It was that time where I was just like, people weren't open to, like, when you come into this country to do other careers. It's about earning money and then sending some money back home because of, again, the British, they absolutely drained India. Well, you want your freedom, it's going to be at a price. We're going to take everything from you. And but in return, we're going to let the working class people of India to come to England to serve our class system. You know what I mean? And now it's happening with the Eastern Europeans. They come their service in the class system. The British, let's not deny this. The British white person loves their class system. People underneath them doing all the donkey work. And that is a fact. No one's going to deny that. But that's why the education stuff, they got massive U-turn on it because you're messing with children's lives. 18-year-olds, you don't go there. Adults, you can have a class system, but not with A-level students. So there you go.
So just elaborate, if you can, when you're away, how do you keep yourself entertained? When I look at a cricketer's life, it's like touring to Australia, touring to India, then they're back, then they're playing here, then they're off again. It must disrupt home life. It must disrupt your life. What is it like for you and how do you keep yourself going? Because in the rugby world, you hear of the British Lions going on tour. And they're only away for 6 weeks once a year on a tour, or footballers going away to the World Cup and they get bored, so they play golf all the time. How do cricketers keep themselves focused and mentally strong?
I think there's always, because I had my life coach, he was like my, let's say, I will always speak to him. I'm always speaking to him. I'm always like having a chat with him. When our relationship kind of parted ways, I found it very difficult because I didn't invest time outside of cricket with my teammates. I wouldn't go and mingle with them or go and play golf or something like that. And therefore, when I struggled, I didn't know who to go to because I didn't invest my time in my social capital, didn't invest time with my friends, with my teammates as friends. I go and speak to them, ring them up, maybe once we're away from tour, see how things are. And I didn't do that because I had a life coach. I just had to speak to him about everything, get my game in order, and off I went. And that's when I struggled. And that's why when they say loneliness is a breeding out of mental health issues, it is. If you don't invest with your friends and just check in and see how they are, something that I never did, I'll be honest with you, because I didn't need to. I had already had a best friend in my life coach. Before he passed away, we parted ways anyway for whatever reason. But then I didn't have a best friend in the cricket team. So I didn't know who do I speak to about my problems and X, Y, and Z. So then that's when, things hit rock bottom for me.
And so what happened next for you? You say it hit rock bottom. Talk about, because you've been very public about having some mental health struggles. What were they? I
remember the PCA sending me a book, Being Mentally Strong, doesn't mean you don't have mental health issues. And it was this really good book. I saw it and I chucked it in the bin. I wish I read it. I remember Mark Robinson, my Sussex coach, he knocked on my door. And the hotel goes, Monty, is everything okay? I just feel you're not yourself. And me being me, we have this Punjabi culture of a strong Punjabi Jat bravado culture, very much similar to the Afrikaans. South, like Graham Smith, Afrikaani. We're very proud, strong people. And you tend to not admit to these things. You don't want to make yourself vulnerable emotionally and mentally to anyone, because you want to hold your cards close to yourself, because you feel once you do that, then, you're an easy target. And that's what I did. I never opened up about these kind of things. So I wish I did. And because I didn't, then I remember one of my friends, Greg Matthews, was a good friend of mine in Australia, and a couple of his mates rang me. He goes, Monty, come on, let's go for a coffee, man. I want you to meet someone. But they knew they're going to meet me. When I was going to sit, there was a hypnotherapist there because they knew that, look, this guy's not well. Something's completely wrong with him. So we went there, we sat in the coffee shop, and I just sat there. I did not know what was going on for like half an hour or whatever. I was just sit there in like really weird mode and just not connected to reality. And that's when the hypnotherapist said, something's wrong with him. I don't know what it is. And then he did me, and then went and he did a session with me. And I was reacting on the bed, jumping up and down. I don't know what was going on. And he said, I think of reversal. I think you got some sort of reversal energy happening. I don't know what it is. Everything's reversal with you. And afterwards I felt a lot like calmer. And so he felt, I think I've broken some kind of spell or something. And that was it. And I felt a lot more like, back with myself now. And then I worked with him quite a lot. And then he said to me, he goes, I think schizophrenia, paranoia, where your confidence goes really low and then you start feeling paranoid around you. But when your confidence is really high, you don't have them paranoid thoughts. And then we started to work towards that. And we worked, we moved towards that. How do we get better? We did some tapping. We did some talking therapy. I got off alcohol as well. It was one of the other reasons as well, because I just thought alcohol fuels negative thoughts about what's happened in the past when you're like, drunk and you're like sitting there with your mates, but then you allow negative things in the past that's happened. You think about that. And when you're not in a great place. So then I stopped. So then I don't want to think about my past. And then I just thought, I'm going to fight this. I've got to fight a way of doing it. Various things. Exercise was one to boost endorphins. Talking was another. Started to talk with people. People started to see a different side. They're like, why is Monty making an effort to talking with us? So he never used to do it in his playing days. He was a very, how do I say it? Like very Joseph Mourinho style I used to be. Okay, enjoyed my cricket, enjoyed it, but that's it. Back in the dressing room, pack my bags, bang. I don't want to, no time for anyone. Don't want to speak. Get in my car, go home. And then I realized that gets you so far when you're like dropping down. That's it, man. There's a lineup of everyone thinking, why you treated me like this? You were like this. You were like this. You were like this. And that's it. Everyone's just firing at you, man. And they don't realize actually you're mentally ill, but they just think, because he's having a bad time, let me take a shot at him as well. Because it's like karma effect, isn't it? If you're arrogant, not a good person, when it's your downtime, people are ready. People are just ready. They're like vultures, ready to come take you down.
Well, they often say, remember the people on the way up, because on the way down, they'll remember, And
yeah, that all good saying. And it's true. It's so true. But I realized that actually it's not the people that, that want to be a part of you. I connected to my faith. And I realized that the relationship with God or your universal or spiritual or positive energy is the most important relationship. If your first relationship is with God and you've done that really well, then what ends up happening is that people around you, like I found my family and friends, they go, it's great to be around now. It's great to be around because I committed to my first relationship, which is God, not my mom and dad. God comes first, or positive or energy, spiritual energy, because I don't want to go too religious into this, because not everyone is going to connect, but people connect to spirituality. Just keep it simple as spirituality, universal energy. Connect to that first. Okay? Then when I connect with my friends and my family, they're like, Monty, you're a great person to be around. And I'm like, gosh, isn't this great now? And then when I wouldn't do it, then it will be like, Monty, you're so great. You're like really not, you're off key, you're not, you're like yourself, whatever, whatever. And that was another life lesson for me. And I thought, wow, the universal energy, existence, whatever we want to call it, if you commit to that, whatever way it is, you can write your thoughts. You can be a gratitude list. You can maybe do some mindful exercises. It doesn't have to be all religious. It can be spiritual stuff. Do some sort of spiritual commitment. Write your thoughts, for example. Do something. And then you go and speak to your family and friends and the world. The world the world loves you. You think you're a great place. So when I did that, I realized actually no person wants to be around someone who hasn't done their committed work. You do your committed work to your spiritual stuff and whatever. It could be like, I'm going to have a healthy smoothie. Or it could be, there you go, you Sam, you've done your bit. Or you could write a gratitude list. Gratitude list is really good because it helps you to forgive people. Forgiving and bringing gratitude humbleizes you, grounds you. It's all the stuff that people love, the value.
Before I go to bed, I thank myself for 3 things. And before I get up, I thank myself for 3 things.
Well, there you go, Sam. You're a great example of that. I think gratitude is a great doing it. So that's what I mean. So you don't have to be religious to do a gratitude list. It's a very simple thing. And if you start doing these things, what ends up happening is that actually people like being around you.
Yes.
Because you're in a great place.
But also you feel that you can give. You don't have to take. I think a lot of people are takers in society. And I think if you're good in yourself and you're grounded, I think you then feel that you can give of yourself to others. And that's what people want to be around because they like your energy.
Yes, they do. They do because it's like the work you do to yourself. If you put work into yourself, people want to be around you. And that's where I realized how all of this cycle is actually the investment that you put into yourself is the first thing you do. Then if you haven't done that, whatever it could be a morning run, could be a really good book, do my stretches, do a bit of yoga, do something for yourself, right? Yeah. Then take on the world. Then people like being around you.
Now, I've got to ask this question, and then we're going to move on to the next, which is the future of where Monty Panesar. You've sadly got divorced. Was this through your dark time? Is that some of that period of your life?
Look, when a person gets divorced, right, it's a difficult time. But also, like when you enter a marriage, you can't expect like the first day to be, or the first couple of years to be great. Look, once I got married, things didn't turn out as I thought they would be. But once you stick to a marriage, you commit, the good or the bad, you commit to it. But I just find that people, if I want to enter marriage again, I think I was a bit immature at the time. I wasn't as responsible. And then when I seen how my sister, my brother-in-law, she's a married woman, and I asked her the question. She's got a couple of daughters now. I go, so what is it like being a mother? She goes, when you're a mother, you realize there's a certain level of strength in you that you didn't have. Mm-hmm. And when I was, let's say, not a mother, I thought I didn't have that much strength. But when I became a mother, I was like, wow, I actually got this strength in me that I never knew I had. So I think that's what marriage is. Marriage is about understanding responsibility, understanding the other person. At that time, I just lost my ECB contract. I moved northwards to Sussex. Too much stuff happened. I should have waited. There was a lot happening in my cricketing world that I just held back a little bit. But there you go. It obviously showed that because of so much happening in my cricket, I was difficult. I couldn't too much maybe for me to deal. And sadly, we parted ways. And it's been years now since I've been divorced. And I guess now I'm in that sort of frame of mind where I'm thinking actually for a partner, because eventually you don't want to be, on your Jack Jones all your life. You want to have a companion in life, someone you can share your emotions with, share some good times, bounce some ideas, things like that. So I need to find a life partner as well.
And England needs another left spinner. So you better hurry up. Now, what's the future hold for Monty? Where are you now? What do you want to do next? Now, cricket is now behind you. Are you coaching? Are you on the speaker tours? Or are you moving into other areas? What's next for Monty?
Well, cricket isn't behind me. Maybe next year I'll try and give cricket a go if I keep myself fit. And depending on the opportunities over the winter. But look, I sent emails out to all the cricket coaches. And for me, I thought there would be an opportunity. I really thought Northants were going to give me a chance because there was an opening for a spinner spot. They said to me, look, that when there's no opportunity for you here. But in your mind, you always just think, no, there is an opportunity, because there was an opportunity. They signed a left arm spinner. He's obviously 27, 28. He's a youngster. I'm 30. If I'm coach myself, I think, would you sign the Monty Panesar? And I'm like, I probably think, actually, I wouldn't, because he's 38. But then I think to myself, I would only sign Monty Panesar if he can help the younger spinners as a coach, spin consultant, where his experience could help our team, and just see how that goes to get him involved. So if a coach has that kind of vision, or if they think they want me to get back in the game, then they'll give me that chance. But yeah, it's a slim chance now since I've sent all the emails, and COVID hasn't, things don't look too great.
Would you go back to the Luton club that you were and maybe coach there? Go back to your...
I want to be at a professional level, professional cricket club, give my experience back some way. And then my next goal, obviously, is media broadcasting. I want to become the Brown Pierce Morgan of media broadcasting.
Excellent. Now, did you miss out on the IPL? Was that after you, or was that just at the beginning, coming to the beginning when you were in the middle of your career? Where was the IPL in terms of your life? How did it fit in?
IPL just never happened, because I think India had the mindset of that their younger spinners are better than the foreign spinners. So I just never got a look in the IPL. And maybe the fact that I took Sachin Tendulkar as my first test wicket, and every time I played against India, I seemed to do well. They just thought, let's not invite him back in the IPL. We do not want him here.
Right.
And they just never got the chance.
Would you have loved to have done it?
I think I would have loved to experience it, see what it's all about. But whatever's happened over the last 10 years, with IPL opportunity, I missed out on. If I played IPL on a regular basis, I was like, lots of money. I think I missed out on like millions of pounds in my life where I could have earned a lot of money. But it's sometimes, without going too spiritual, if order of life doesn't want you to have these opportunities, whatever happens, you knock on the doors, it's up to existence and the universe. If they open the door for you, then it happens. But when they want to open the door for you, then it will open, and it doesn't matter how hard you try. There's times where I just give up, and I just think, I'm not going to do anything. And next thing, my phone starts ringing. Oh, by the way, this opportunity, that's opportunity. Other times I'm like knocking on the doors and no one's answering. So whatever the order or universal energy, almighty, whatever he has in place, it happens at his pace. Whenever he wants to do it, he will do it. If he wants me to play cricket now, he would have given me the opportunity. Some coach would have said, Monty, come along, come and join us. Let's see what your bowling is. Let's see what your fitness is like. It's really in his hands. We can try, but whenever he wants to open that door, he will at his will, and I can't do nothing about it.
Now, where do you think cricket's going? Not just England cricket, but cricket. Cricket dying? Will it survive? The Pakistan tour was a failure in terms of the lighting issues that they had. Where does Test cricket go? Where does T20 go? Where does cricket go? Is county cricket dead? What's Monty Panesar's take on cricket?
I think what it is that we have these great 5-day test matches. So the last first test match at Old Trafford went really well. So then there again, it shows that we need to play 5-day test cricket. All you need is half a dozen of games, 3 or 4 games a year, which are nail-biting games. And suddenly it attracts the audiences. It keeps them engaged. So test cricket is always going to be there, in my opinion, 5-day test cricket, because of the results we get. The question, what really remains, is the smaller nations. We need the bigger nations, the likes of Australia, England, India. We can probably put New Zealand in there as well now, to help the lesser nations, the likes of South Africa, West Indies, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. Cricket needs to be played in Pakistan as well at some point. I think England owe a favour to Pakistan to say this year, whenever, we will tour Pakistan as well. And God forbid there isn't any more these sort of attacks. I think they'll put a huge dent if that happens. Then obviously safety comes first. But God willing, everything goes to plan, then other teams should start touring. But it's the bigger nations. They owe it to all the smaller nations to go and tour. They need to do that because the cricket's going to die out. Like, West Indies make more money by coming, to England and touring West Indies than some of the other nations. So that's where I think cricket, to keep it sustained, you need the bigger nations playing and touring the smaller nations.
Okay. And last couple of ones. Who's the up-and-coming talent that you've spotted? Who's the young player, the next Monty Panesar? Who's the young spin player that you've seen that you think everyone in the world should be keeping an eye out for?
There's a young batsman called Ollie Pope. He played with me. He's a batsman. He played with me at grade cricket. Well, the next year at Campbelltown in Sydney when I played. So he's the next thing. He's in between of Ian Bell and Virat Kohli. He can play the attacking game and he's got a good defensive game. He's the next upcoming great cricketer. Spin options. There's not many spin options around. There's not many left-arm spinners around. If you ask me, it's because T20 cricket, you have to bowl the ball into the pitch. And Test cricket, you have to give it flight and bowl the traditional way. Now, you bowl a flighted ball in T20 cricket, they'll whack you out of the ground and the ball goes out of the ground. It won't even go past the boundary. You're going fetching it. It's 100 meter six. So you have to bowl into the pitch. And if you do that in Test cricket, then that gets cut away. It's easy running because you have to bowl. It's like swing bowling and all that. So because of that, you tend to find less traditional spinners being played. So I haven't seen at the moment any youngsters, a left-arm spinner coming through. Maybe the only player I've seen is like Jack Leach, who looks, pretty good, but he would probably play if the wicket is turning, there's some spin in it, because they go for like Dom Bess, who can bat and bowl. That seems to be it. Like if you want to play for England, you need to bat and bowl. You can't just play solely as a specialist spinner because unless it's a turning wicket, fair enough. But if it isn't, then they tend to go for a batsman who can bowl.
Cool. Monty, thank you so much. Now, before you go, where can people get a hold of you? You talked about the Monty channel. Do you want to plug the channel?
You can get me at the Monty channel, which is on Twitter, at Monty Panesar as well on Twitter, at Monty Panesar on Instagram. If there's youngsters, get me on Snapchat as well, Monty Panesar. Just seems no one taken Monty Panesar. Brilliant.
Monty Panesar, England cricketer, thank you so much for your time. It's been fascinating.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for the interview, and thank you for everyone listening in. And I look forward to hearing from all the fans.
Take care.
Thanks, mate.